Hello everyone. I am very pleased to be sending through this presentation on self-care and using EFT as a stress reduction tool. And we're going to be looking at chronic stress. I am going to give a little bit of an overview of the importance of self-care, which I'm sure is not new to you, but sometimes it is a good way to refresh and reframe our thinking around it. We're going to look a little bit at EFT, and I'm going to take you through an EFT experience using tapping for chronic stress that's stored in our body. How to tap into your extraordinary life. I'm Lauren Bell. I'm a wealth consciousness coach, a registered nurse. I have a Bachelor of Applied Science in Health Promotion. I have a grad deep in counselling, and I am a holistic therapist. I am a wealth coach, a infinite possibilities or manifestation coach, and I'm also the author of a chapter in the Anxiety Relief Handbook. I love working with caring professionals who are ready to take charge of their own life. Those who are forward thinking and recognise that they want more, deserve more, and are ready for more from life. So self-care needs to be non-negotiable. An empty lantern provides no light, and self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine brightly. It's interesting, but self-care really does reflect our level of deserving and our level of receiving. So many people feel as though it's better, or they claim that they're good at giving but not good at receiving. And in both of these cases, it really does reflect and correlate with our wealth mindset. Giving and receiving are part of the same continuum. Or if we do give from a place where we're already exhausted and empty, then nobody, including ourselves, gets the benefit of that sort of care. The reason a lot of the time is that we have this negative programming. We actually feel selfish when we take time for ourselves. We feel guilty. And it's as though by saying that we are that important to care for ourselves, that we're actually neglecting others. And yet that, of course, is not the case when you really think about it. It needs to be so important. It has to be our priority, really. And it's our responsibility. We can't expect others to care for ourselves. We have to do it for ourselves. And so, of course, it is essential for the health of our entire mind, body, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, holistic health. And when we don't give ourselves this care, we can easily move into compassion fatigue, burnout, cynicism. And to be on the receiving end of that, whether it's the patients receiving our care or our colleagues, is not very nice. And often we then beat ourselves up too, feeling really awful because we've not treated others the way that we really know that we care and want to do. So when we do look at self-care, it is not selfish, it is essential. And of course, you're not going to suddenly become a selfish person anyway. You're actually always going to be that caring person, but you're going to be able to do it from that full cup instead of empty. So it is really important professionally and personally. It's important for everybody. Fill your cup first and then give from the overflow. Everyone will be better off for it. And you are being a powerful leader when you do look after yourself. You're leading by example, and also your capacity to lead. You're going to be able to be so much brighter. It is time for us all to be empowered, to stand up, to speak up, to be seen, heard, and appreciated. And it comes from us giving ourselves and believing in the value of the care and the work that we do. When we do this for ourselves, we will see it reflected back. And that's exactly been my experience. And I know it follows across the board and can be yours too. So my non-negotiable in self-care is walking in the Bellbird Dell, which is close by my home with my beautiful dog Ruby. I love it because I'm out in nature, I'm exercising, fresh air, and also she brings me into the moment, because when I let her off the lead and she runs ahead with a big smile on her face and her ears flapping, She just shows me how much fun life is when we can just take the simple things. But we're all different. So, what fills you? What's your non negotiable? And this may be obvious to you or it may not be yet. But just think about what is it that you can do that really fills you. We're all different and it will be personal to you. So you need to find yours. And it might be a matter of trial and error. It doesn't matter. But consciously choose it. And when you know what it is, schedule it in. I've got a client that for her non-negotiable is surfing. But when she came to me, she was exhausted and burnt out and had no idea what she wanted to do anymore. So we remembered back to that time when she did really feel amazingly well, full, vital, energized, healthy, happy. And she remembered that she'd moved oceanside to be able to go surfing. So she started scheduling that back into her weekly calendar, and the benefits were huge. Not only for her own health and well-being, but it actually flows across the board, even into all other life areas, our relationships, our value and purpose for life, our ability to receive money and our confidence, all of those things, they're all interrelated. And the interesting thing is that when we're doing it, we actually need to acknowledge it. So it could be as simple as sitting in the backyard, enjoying a cup of coffee with the sun on your face, but actually acknowledging, you know what, I'm filling myself up. This is beautiful for me. Really does make a big difference. So tapping or EFT is an emotional freedom technique. It's a stress reduction tool that is evidence-based. And what it does is it combines both psychotherapy and acupressure to reduce stress and anxiety. It involves combining a cognitive acceptance statement. So basically we're really saying that even though I feel this way, I accept myself deeply and completely, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail soon. But while we're doing that and speaking the words out loud, we're actually tapping on acupuncture points. So a formal definition, it's an energy psychology intervention for the treatment of psychological distress through stimulating acupuncture points while exploring either disturbing memories or negative beliefs or negative thoughts that we are having, and it allows for cognitive reorganization. So a simpler way to say it is that it's a unique exercise to calm you down so that you can think clearly about your problem and do something different. There's loads of research, and one of the leading researchers is Dr. Peter Stapleton, who is a psychologist in Queensland. She's involved in loads of studies, and these links actually will take you through to videos that actually helps explain the research. So anyway, with all of the research, I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but there is a lot of evidence and a lot of research. And if you would like to know more, then please reach out. Or one of the places to be able to get a lot of it is from Mind Heart Connect. But just looking at the picture on the right, you can see that through their research, they've been able to show that cortisol is reduced by 37%, immune markers up by 113%, pain reduced by 57%, anxiety down by 40%, depression by 35%, PTSD by 32%, happiness increased by 31%, blood pressure down by 8%, and food cravings down as well by 74%. So it can be used for anything that's got a feeling. So you think about it, that's everything. Everything has a feeling attached to it. Somebody's coming in to go for an operation and there's concerns about the surgery, concerns about the pain, concerns about what might be found, concerns about the family at home or their job or their ability to earn income or the impact of all of that on themselves. And so every single thing always has, it's multidimensional. So just very quickly, again, it can be used for stress, anxiety, depression, trauma, memories, PTSD, wealth and abundance, which is the work that I do in my wealth consciousness coaching and also in my manifestation coaching. It can be used for physical pain, acute pain, and chronic pain. And in the case of John, John was someone who'd been involved in a road accident and had a broken, breaks in his leg, and was having trouble getting on top of the pain despite having surgery and despite analgesia. When they unpacked it to see what else was going on, the emotional factors were things like he was angry at his wife, who he'd been driving to go to something that he didn't want to go to. He was angry at himself for not standing up and saying that. He was angry at the other driver who was involved in the car accident. And when they actually tapped through, it brought up a memory of when he was a little boy and his mum was late to a birthday party to pick him up. It can be used for things like self-belief and self-esteem, and we can uncover feelings of shame and guilt and other patterns that we've taken on board without even understanding. It can be used for illness, insomnia, food cravings, body shape change and weight loss, things like performance, such as sports, public speaking, exams, interviews. And it can also be used in the moment for self-care, or it can be used looking back on that incident that was triggering and then actually being able to release the emotional charge around it. So the tapping recipe is, firstly, we look and we assess where is it in your body. So we're going to be looking at the stress, the chronic stress that's stored in your body. And I'll take you through that in a moment. But firstly, we're just going to look, where is it? Where do you feel it? What's going on here? And then we're going to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. So it's the subjective units of distress scale. And it's just like a pain scale. So 10 out of 10 is intense and 0 is nothing. And we want to actually just assess before we start, where are we? So that we can do the tapping and then assess where we are afterwards. And we want to get that level down to about at least a 2. We do the setup statement, which is, even though I have this situation, we tap on the side of the hand usually when we're saying that, and we name the problem. So even though I have this chronic stress stored in my body, which you may not even be fully aware of, but we're going to talk through, I deeply and completely accept myself. Ideally, it's even I deeply and completely love and accept myself. But that's not always easy for people, especially at the beginning, to start saying. So it doesn't matter what the acceptance statement is, but basically we're just accepting that this is how you feel about this at the moment. Then we go through the tapping sequence, and you can see there's a variety of points that we're going to be working with. So top of the head, between the eyes, side of the eye. So all of these are on the bone, under the eye, under the nose, on the chin, on the collarbone, and under the arms. Now, I often tap over the heart, and that's because I'm a certified body talk practitioner, and heart tapping is part of it. So it's almost just become a habit of mine. So I like to just let you know that now, just in case in the sequence when I'm doing it, that I actually just tap there, and instead of you thinking, what's she doing that for? Now you know. So under the arm as well. And then we just keep rotating through depending on where we're up to. Once we've finished that round of tapping, we can assess again, where are we? Where are we on the SUD scale? So on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, where am I? And we keep repeating it until we can get as close to 0 as possible. But even 2 is good too. And this is just something that I've recently added into these slides, which is it's a computer metaphor. So, we have an emotional shock installed in our body. Something happens and we have an emotional response. And so think of that like a malware program. And then we use the reminder phase where we're tapping on the side of the hand, and that's like the file name. So it's actually bringing the memory back into our limbic system. So our limbic system's our fight and flight. And we repeat the phrase, and that triggers the energetic flashback. And then when we do the tapping, it's actually uninstalling the program, a bit like hitting the delete key. And when the file is resaved, it's saved without the emotional charge. And that's why it's called emotional freedom. Why do we state the negative? Tapping doesn't affirm the problem. What it does is it states the truth and acknowledges it. We have often these negative thoughts that go round and round in our brain, and we're often not even aware that we're thinking them. So when we actually start to unpack what's going on, we can start to see some of these things. So by tapping and stating the truth, we're actually validating. It's an amazing feeling of validation. And it calms the physiological response. So we're reducing that fight and flight. We're actually moving into the rest and digest, or the parasympathetic nervous system instead. Once released, there's cognitive shifts. So we get a reframing. We see it differently. And also, if we went too soon positively, we're actually only going to bring on a very palliative result, because it's a bit like spraying air freshener when there's still the garbage in the room. Now we're going to experience EFT. So what we're going to look at is chronic stress. So this is the recipe, but I'm going to stop my screen now so that I can take you through tapping and show you in big size how to do it. So what I want you to do is follow along with me. Okay, so we're going to start tapping for stored stress in the nervous system. This is inspired by Carol Look, who's an EFT master. She's been working with EFT for about 40 years. In this situation, what we want to do is look at stored stress in our nervous system, because every day we are producing stress, but it's not very often that we actually use tools to reduce the stress. And the idea is that we do get triggered plenty of times, but we don't even really acknowledge it. Think of our working day. We just soldier on. We don't even look at it and deal with it. So stress builds up, stays in our nervous system, and it actually can cause illness and disease. And every day, there's millions of things that are happening that are actually stressful. And you know what it's like, we head off on a holiday. Often there's so much to organise and we're so busy getting ready. We arrive at our destination ready to have our holiday, and suddenly we're sick. We've got a cold or something's happened. And that's in response to this stress. So this is a simple tapping that you can use on a daily basis, however often you would like to, just to increase your feelings of well-being, reduce your stress, and improve your immunity. So just repeat after me. Tap along and repeat the words out loud. Even though I have this stored stress in my nervous system, and I know it, I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have this stored stress in my nervous system, but I've been ignoring it, I deeply and completely love and accept myself and how I feel. Even though I have this stored stress in my nervous system, and I think it's been causing me a lot of problems, I choose to release it. Now we're going to tap on the points. I know I have a lot of stored stress in my nervous system. All this stored stress in my nervous system. All this stored stress. I haven't been able to clear it before. I have just locked it away. But I know it's been affecting me. All this stored stress. I know it has been affecting me. I honor how I feel. Okay, so just take a deep breath. We've just done one round of tapping and we've acknowledged that we have this stored stress that we don't deal with. So just tune in again and just see Where do you feel? How does it feel? Sometimes just bringing it up can actually make it feel worse because it's like we're acknowledging it. But just continue along, tap with me. And if you need to, you just continue saying the same thing until it reduces. So, second round. Even though I have all this stored stress in my nervous system, I appreciate what my mind and body have been doing. Even though I have all this built up and stored stress in my nervous system, I choose to release some of it now. Even though it's obvious to me, I have a lot of stored stress in my nervous system. I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. I have all this stored stress in my nervous system. And this is very obvious to me because of how I feel. I have all this stored stress in my nervous system. I appreciate my nervous system and what it's been trying to do. All this stored stress in my nervous system. I'm not sure I realized how much was there. What if I could release it now? I have all this stored stress in my nervous system, so I choose to release some of it now. My dear nervous system, thank you for trying to take care of all this excess stress. I am ready to release some of it now. I choose to release some of it now. All this stored stress in my nervous system. I love knowing I'm allowed to release this stored stress from my nervous system. Releasing all this stored stress. Letting some of it go. Letting go of some of this stored stress now. So just take another deep breath. Sometimes it's good just to have a shrug and maybe have a drink of water if you've got some there too. Just take another deep breath and tune in again and see where you're at. So rate it on that SUD scale out of 10 and see where you're feeling it in your body. And we're just going to move into a third round of tapping. I choose to release this stored stress from my nervous system. I've held on to it long enough. I choose to release this stored stress from my nervous system now. I am ready to release this stored stress from my nervous system. I think I feel lighter already. It feels so good to release all the stored stress from my nervous system. I didn't realize how much was there. I'm ready to release some of this stored stress from my nervous system. I'm ready to release some of this stored stress from my nervous system. I am ready to release it now. Just take another deep breath, shrug your shoulders, take a drink. And I recommend that you tap on that regularly. So tune in again, take a breath, see where you're at, see what your SUDS level is. And if you need to, go back and keep repeating. But you can do it for as long or as little as you like. I mean, if you could do it every single day for a couple of minutes and just acknowledge the stress that we feel and allow that nervous system to be released, to be acknowledged, and to allow the parasympathetic nervous system of relaxation and healing and digestion and all of those things to step in, you will feel so much better. Let me know how you go. We're just going to return now to the PowerPoint just quickly. I just want to share my screen and share a couple of things yet. So what's next? So you can join my mailing list for future events, useful links and other inspiration, and that's lauren@laurenbell.com.au. you can actually download and own your own free manual on EFT from EFT International. And that's a great resource for how to do tapping, and also has stories and other case studies and things, so it's quite good. And I also recommend subscribing to Mind Heart Connect. They run conferences, and pre-COVID we had a beautiful conference up on the Gold Coast, which was 3 days long with 20 points for nurses, CPD, and it was all on things like tapping and mindfulness and other empowerment and self-leadership tools. And of course, we have our next seminar coming up on the 18th of November. This is the third in our Exhausted to Empowered series. The first one was on burnout and stress. The second one was on courageous conversations and grief. And this time we wanted to change it up a little bit. So we're going with humour, and we've actually been able to get a humour coach who is a qualified and award-winning comedian, Kate Burr, and she's going to come and run the humour part of the workshop with us. So come and earn 3.5 CPD hours. It's only $89. It promises to be a lot of fun. Here's the list of references. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. I hope it's helped you and that you have a better experience of what self-care is, and the simple tool of tapping that can be done simply and easily to actually reduce your stress. Please join us for our next seminar. It promises to be a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a beautiful day.